Well, welcome back, everybody, and today we're going to be finishing up this chapter as we take a look at digging in a little bit deeper to what the uh, respondents are providing us. And this is done through more types of interviews, conversations, asking probing questions, and also getting their impressions of alternate means of interviewing and asking questions. So let's go ahead and get started today. Welcome back, everybody, and today we're going to be looking at other ways of being able to derive data from interviews and conversations and other alternate means of data collection. Social networking is probably one of the most influential ways of connecting and gathering data out there today when you're especially looking at technology. And as you see here, you have several resources, MySpace, Facebook. Now, I understand MySpace is kind of antiquated, so you have LinkedIn today and Twitter accounts, and there's all different types of technical platforms that you can use to connect with people, both far and near, known and unknown. And a lot of the information that you get, at least for me on Facebook, is consumer related. I can't tell you how many times I've come across things that I never even knew existed, but I saw it on Facebook. Now, part of this has come from data mining and all of that, and we'll talk about that later on. But I have been made aware of products that I normally wouldn't have been made aware of if it wasn't for social media and social networking. So they have their place, and in doing research, you can also use social media information to brands and so forth. So it's a good source of information and research material. Free association is a technique that comes from psychology, really psychoanalytic psychology with Sigmund Freud. You probably heard of him. And here you record a respondent's first cognitive reaction. Ball, and they may say beach. So that would enlighten the researcher to be able to glean from those responses what a consumer or what a person may want or what's on their mind. So you can map out their thoughts. Sentence completion is another way. People who drink beer or whatever, how you respond will give at least an indication of what type of person and what their thoughts may be. This has been used, as I said before, in psychology. Psychologists use this to kind of probe. So in a way, we are using heavily, not from the hard sciences of business, but from the softer point of view of social science, where we're looking at the individual, how they think, and cognition. Other observations, you have field notes that you can take as you watch people. You can just take notes about what you're seeing, and you get fairly decent data from that as long as you interpret the data objectively. Collages, here you prepare a collage to represent their experiences, and it's analyzed for meaning. For instance, when I was doing my research on Christian conversions to Muslim, I interviewed a number of people, and from that interview I posted their responses to different questions. And it's kind of like watching CSI. If you watch that, you look for patterns in those responses, and those patterns will be able to lead you to conclusions. And from those collages, that's what we're doing. We're trying to take disparate, diverse responses and be able to come to conclusions using those diverse responses. Projective research techniques. It's an indirect means of questioning where you have a respondent project beliefs and feelings onto a third party, an inanimate object, or a task situation, and is particularly useful in studying sensitive issues. So they may say that they don't like a situation that they were involved in. You may ask them, give me an instance where you were uncomfortable with the situation or a task. So they would be able to talk about that. And I'm trying to think of some other examples too. You may have them project their feelings onto a picture. How does this picture make you feel? And it may be the picture of a puppy dog, let's say. And their response would kind of indicate what they're feeling. One of the popular methods of projective research was what we call the Rorschach ink blot test. And the ink blot test was just as the name implies, an ink blot. And they would take a blot of ink and it would have all different crazy shapes and features. And the person, when they were shown the ink blot, they were asked to tell the first thing that came to mind, kind of like free association, but they're using, instead of a verbal word, they are looking at the ink and interpreting that. Thematic apperception test. Here you're given just an ambiguous picture, and you are to, from that picture, tell a story. What's going on? What are you thinking with that picture? Kind of like a scenario where you see a man and a woman in the kitchen talking, and you would ask the person, what do you see? Now, you're not interjecting your feelings or anything that would hint at what is going on, because really there is no right or wrong answer. You see what you see, and how that person interprets it will supposedly give insight into what that person is thinking or feeling. Now, this is an example. Do you think we need to upgrade our word processing software? And you would fill in the blanks. What's going on here? Now, normally, a thematic apperception test would not have the balloon captions. You would just say, okay, this is what's going on. The guy has his hand out. He seems to be smiling, so he is maybe the boss, and he's complimenting one of his workers. And why would I say boss? Well, he's standing. He's a man in a suit. For those who are traditionalists and they say that's the boss because he's a man, you get an idea of where that person's idea is. Or it could be for those who are feminist, the man is coming to his supervisor who is busy typing on the computer. He's asking for permission to do something, or he's explaining something to this person. Depending on your perception, that will determine how you respond to it, and you can glean a lot of information from a person just by the way they respond to some of these questions. And here with the closed captioning, that really, they're using it. I've never seen it used this way where you complete the sentence. It's just as good to do the sentence completion than to do this. But anyway, this is how they do it. It's fine. There's nothing potentially wrong with it. It's just another way of presenting the thematic apperception test. But just know that normally when you do this type of test, you are looking at a picture without any words, and you tell the story of that picture. And from your story, you can glean your conclusions about the person, or about maybe their values, their beliefs, and so forth. So no matter what you use, there's a lot of tools, and this is the key to it all. There are a lot of tools you have at your disposal that can allow you to be able to dig in deeper to people than just asking them outright questions that may come from a questionnaire or a survey or something like that. You want to be able, in qualitative research, to be able to get down to the experiences, the feelings, the emotions of the person to be able to make wise business decisions. Now, exploratory research in science and in practice. There are several criteria that has to be met or have to be met. Misuses of exploratory and qualitative research. So interpretation. Qualitative research cannot draw conclusive references. So what you are doing is looking at things from your conclusions, but that doesn't mean that they are the end all to everything. Replicability, when the same conclusion is reached based on another researcher's interpretation. So as other researchers come to the same conclusion, that just builds on the validity and reliability of your search. And they call that inter-rater validation. Motivational research error. It's produced some interest and bizarre reasons for consumers' behavior. So, interpretation, replicability, and motivational research era, these are some of the things that you can look at as far as bouncing it off the research that you're doing to give it more validity and reliability. As I mentioned before, a lot of what we do involves psychology. When we're trying to do research, especially on people and what their experiences are, when it comes to qualitative data, you can expect to use a lot of psychological models in your research. And what we saw today was just a taste of some of the models and tools that you can use, that you have at your disposal to be able to probe deeper and get to the heart of what people feel, what they like, their values, and so forth. So I would encourage you to become familiar with those models as you enter into business and as you go in deeper into business. You may be called upon to be able to help an organization out by determining the feelings, the emotions, the behaviors of people, and you'll be using these tools as your resource. Well, that's all we have for today. God bless you, and we'll see you next week.